All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott, formerly of Rankin Technical College, and as you can see on the screen, again, in my Jeff Teaches Programming Python YouTube playlist, which you can find under, if you search YouTube for JPS-Jeff Teaches Programming, or you put in the URL that's shown right there. I've been going through a series of videos on how to write Python. And they've all been Python console programs. And by and large, you may or may not agree with this, but they've been fairly simplistic programs. Now, in my last video, I went in and I took a couple of things that were created by Al Swigert and just basically didn't do much with them. All right. Added a couple comments, but it's a pretty simple guessing game program, a little bit more complex guessing game program. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get rid of both those, and I'm going to bring up this one. So this is going to be mine. All right, I called it JPS guessing game. As you can see, the scenario, write a Python program that generates a random number between either 1 and 10, or 1 and 100, or 1 and 1000, and asks the user to guess that number. Now, there's different ways that you can generate random numbers. I put this one out here. As you know, if you type in any concept that you're looking for, you can find all sorts of matches for it. This is just one I found. So here's our requirements. I'm going to create constants. Technically, from what I can tell, Python doesn't have constants. There's no const like you would see in other languages, for example, but I'm just going to take variables and make them uppercase and not change them. So I'm going to have one constant for my minimum guess, which is going to be 1, 3 constants for my maximum guess. So if you want to play a simple guessing game from a number between 1 and 10, the maximum number will be 10. If you want to play a little harder one, all right, then the maximum number will be 100. If you want to play the hardest that I have, it'll be between 1 and this one, which will be 1,000. All right. I'm also going to have a bunch of constants in there for string error text. All right. At the end of each guessing game iteration, ask the user if they'd like to run the program again. Let them do so indefinitely. All right. And right now, I'm not sure, but I think that I'm not giving you away that if you say, no, I don't want to do it again, I don't know if the program stops or not. So we'll look at that in a bit. Put in the code to clear the variables at the beginning of each program run. So in other words, the number I'm looking for should be cleared out because I'm going to create a new one. The number of guesses I have should be cleared out because I'm going to be starting a new game. All right, so put in code that, again, that will generate the random number. That'll either be between 1 and 10, or 1 and 100, or 1 and 1,000. All right. Put in the code that lets the user make a guess. Put in the code that determines the guess status, which is one of 3 things. You either made a guess that was higher than the actual number, lower than the actual number, or you figured out the actual number. All right. Now notice if a non-guess, or if a guess is non-numeric, all right, so if I put in hello or whatever, or if I put in a number less than 1, or a number that's greater than 10 if it's between 1 and 10, or greater than 100 if it's between 1 and 100, or greater than 1,000 if it's between 1 and 1,000, the program should display something like all guesses must be numbers between 1 and 10, or 1 and 100, or 1 in 1,000. All right, again, depending. What the heck happened there? Please try again. And if it's a bad guess, do not increment the total number of guesses. It was an invalid guess. So only increment our total guess counter, or whatever you want to call it, for valid guesses. So, for instance, if a guess is 67 and the number is higher, it should say the guess of 67 is too high. Please try again. If 67 is too low, it should say the guess of 67 is too low. Please try again. In those cases, they're valid guesses. So we will increment our total guesses. If we happen to guess the correct number, the user should be given a message like, the guess of 67 in 4 guesses was correct. After, again, we increment total guesses. All right, so we do want to increment the total guesses. All right, so the user should continue to solicit user guesses until the user correctly guesses the random number and then prints out the associated message. Let the user to continue to play the games as many times as desired. All right. Now, some of the stuff that's demonstrated in here is the same stuff that we've been working with. Import as, if, def, return, print, str, try, except, finally. Let's add another one because I did put in here one raise. All right, so we'll add that one. Now, notice there's nothing else in here. So I'm going to start adding code in just a moment. All right, let me save this. Now, I'm not going to run it. There's no code in there yet, so nothing would happen. I could, but there's really no reason for doing that. All right, so I'm going to start. And this is how I'm going to start it. I'm going to put my import. So I'm going to import the math library. And I'm also going to import, I'm going to say this, use the from. Did we say the from in here before? No. So there's another one we're going to use. So import and from. What's from? Well, I'm going to say from random import rand int. And what that means is from the random library, all I want to include is the ability to create random integer. So give me a subset, basically. All right. Now I'm going to declare and initialize my numeric constants first. And again, I'm going to make all of them uppercase. So I'm going to say min number equals 1, max number easy equals 10, max number medium, or med, I called it, equals 100, and max number hard equals 1000. All right, plus I'm going to just line this stuff up. By no means do you have to do this. I like the way it reads better. You may not agree. And if you don't, just do it whatever way, of course, you'd like, right? All right, let me move this. I guess I did have it correct. There. So those are my integer constants. I'm also going to put in here quite a few string constants. I didn't have to do it this way, but this is what I did. So now I'm going to grab just that line. So I'm going to declare and initialize some string constants. All right. And I've been using single quotes, so illegal guess. Number guessed was out of range. All right. All right, next. TGO. And that's going to be equal to the guess of. Too high. And that's going to be was too high. You might have already guessed this next one. Too low. And it doesn't matter the order in which you put these, but that's going to be was too low. Correct. Equals was correct. Correct in. And PTA is equal to please try again. Now, I didn't have to create any of these. I want to say that again. I didn't have to create any of these constants. I did it to try to make the program, hopefully, a bit more readable. And that's it. That's my sole reason for doing this. All right, so there are my string constants right there. All right. So next, I'm going to have some global variables. All right. Okay, I'm going to pause for just a second here. All right, sorry about that. I had to take a phone call. So far I've come in here and I've put a big comment in here explaining what I'm doing. All right, some of the requirements. I've added, this has got to change too. So this is JPS guessing game pi program. And it's, what's in here. All right. And I've imported math, and from the random module, I've imported randint. Okay. All right, I've declared some numeric constants. This will be if I want to have a number between 1 and 10. This will be if I want a number between 1 and 100. This will be if I want a number between 1 and 1,000. Notice they've all got different names. Number easy, number med for medium, number hard. Then I also came in and I put in some string constants. These are just going to be for the error messages that are going to come in. All right. Okay. So let's see. Now I'm going to put in some global variables. The jury is out so far kind of on global variables. And what I mean by that is global variables are both a blessing and a curse. And what I mean by that is global variables are a blessing because if you declare something as global, you basically don't have to go passing it around to routine, from routine to routine. All right? But they're a curse because they can lead to what's called side effects. And what a side effect is when you have a routine that shouldn't be allowed to change the value of a variable that actually changes the value. And when you make variables global, what you're saying is any routine, any function or whatever can change its value. All right, so let's come in here, and again, I'm going to declare, there won't be too many, but I'll put in here global variables. I think we're going to have about 4 of them. We're going to have number to guess, and that's going to be, I'll just initialize it to 0. And we'll also have the guess itself, which I'll also initialize to 0. The total guesses, which I'll initialize to 0, and run again, which I'll initialize, it'll be a Boolean, so we'll initialize it to true. All right, and let's, again, pretty this up a little bit. This is just me. I'm kind of quirky this way. I like it when stuff lines up like this. It makes it much easier for me to read and figure out what's going on. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write a routine that's going to be called determine which game to play. So I'm going to put a def in here that I'm going to call determine. It's a pretty big or pretty long which game to play. All right. Now, what that's going to mean is, and let's put a little comment up above this. So determine if the random number will be between 1 and 10, or 1 and 100, or 1 and 1000. All right. Now remember, we've got, since it's a function, we need the double parens and a colon at the end. Now, I've written it, but if I hadn't written anything yet, I could just put pass in there. We've talked about this before, which basically means I'm going to provide some stuff in there later. Well, that's not what I want. But to determine which number I'm going to play, I want to be able to utilize both the number to guess and the total guesses. So I'm going to put these in there, and I'm going to use, did I put that up here? No, I did not. All right, so I'm going to use in here also global. All right, so I'm going to say in here global, and we will have number to guess and global, and we will have in here total guesses. All right, so that's what I have in here right now. Again, am I done? Of course not. All right, now I need to be able to set an upper limit. So I'm going to have to, have a routine that is going to set the upper limit to be 10, or to be 100, or to be 1000. All right. So I'm not done with this routine yet, but I am going to come in here and do a def, and I'm going to write something, and I might as well call it set upper limit. And I'm going to provide a prompt to that, but I don't want to write that yet. So again, I'll put pass in there. And I don't know why I keep forgetting, but I need my colon. All right. So now I want to say this. Max num, and max num is going to be either equal to 10, or to 100, or to 1000. That's what I'm going to figure out in here in just a moment. So this is going to be a little bit big, but I'm going to put in here equals set upper limit. And now I want to provide this prompt that you see right here, that one. Okay, so I'm going to say here, enter, or this is even better, determine maximum number to guess. All right. And put a space there and a plus sign. I'm going to keep adding on to this down here. So what I'm going to say is I want a 1, and I'm going to put here a \n, which means this will be on one line and then this will be on the next line. So I'm going to say a 1 for a random number between 1 and 10. And I guess I don't even need that space there. It's not hurting anything. All right, I'm going to try to play with this a little bit and fix it up a little nicer. You'll see what I mean in just a sec. I want a 2 for a random number between 1 and 100. And finally, what the heck is going on here? I want a 3 for a random number between 1 and 1,000. All right. Let's add a little more. And we will say, please enter a 1, 2, or 3 now. \T for a tab. All right. Now, you can see what we've done so far, and hopefully you're to the point where you can start figuring this out. All right. I'm not using these yet. I will down here someplace. But if this works, I'm going to call, and down here I'm literally going to make a call to determine which game to play. Down here. When I call that, that'll come up here, and it should give me this on my screen. All right. And it actually should call this. So it's basically sending this stuff as prompt into here. All right. So if I said right here, just so we can see if it's working, I'm going to change this to print prompt. All right. And let's see if what we've done so far is working. Determine maximum number to guess. That's right here. 1 for a random number between 1 and 10. 2 for a random number between 1 and 100. 3 for a random number between 1 and 1,000. Please enter 1, 2, or 3 now. Okay, and technically, all right, it is calling this. So let's see. The problem is, that might be where my problem is, or one of my problems. But I'm just going to keep going on. Okay, you can see what's happening, hopefully, so far. So what do I care in here? I mean, fine. I've got all this stuff. Now, I want to be able to actually play the game. I want to be able to play the game, all right, if I put a number in here. Okay? But really, I only want to play the game if the number equals 1 or 2 or 3, correct? So please enter that now. So I can come in here and say, remember, that's max num. That's going to be my call to set up the upper limit. So that literally is going to have a 10, a 100, or 1,000 in it. All right? And if it doesn't, it's going to mean I put something in there that, I don't need. So I'm going to say in here, if this maximum number, yeah, I like it better, like if max num is greater than 0, what do I want to do? I want to play the game. And I want it to know what the maximum number is. Now, it's going to give me an error now because I don't have any play the game. So let's come down here and do another def, and we'll call play the game. And we can keep it as max number, it doesn't matter. And for now, we'll just make it a pass. And we need our colon. So hopefully what you can see is I'm starting to put a program together. All right, let's take a look at this set upper limit here. We've got all this, and all right, this is going to be our maximum number. All right, so call it whatever you want, but I'm going to try something here. This is different than the program that I wrote, so I'm going to change that there. I'm going to grab this, and I want this in here. Yeah, I want to print the prompt, but then I'm going to print this. Please enter a 1, 2, or 3 now. All right. Now, how did that change? Well, it should look pretty much the same as it did before. But notice when I run it now, I'm getting an error, so we'll fix the error right away. All right. Please enter a 1, 2, or 3 now. There we go. Max num is greater than 0. All right. This max num, let's just comment this out for now. We haven't gotten that far in our program yet. So let's run it again. All right, please enter a 1, 2, or 3 now. Okay, well, the problem that we have right now, it's actually doing everything we've told it to do. Okay, it's doing everything we told it to do. You might say, no, it's not. It is printing this, but we're not telling it to stop there. So we're printing the prompt. All right, we will need in here, when we set the upper limit, we will need in here a global, and we will need number to guess. All right, so we're printing the prompt, but after we do this, I want to change this. And I want to say user input, we can call this anything in the world we want, is equal to please enter a 1, 2, or 3 now. Now, how did that change? What did that do? I'm going to leave this run in here so you can see it, but I'm going to save and I'm going to run it again. All right, it's not showing my please enter, so let's see why. Oh, and I know why. All right. We've got here user input equal input prompt, but we're not telling it to print it. Let's take this line that we had in here before. What the heck? What am I using here? This is even the wrong one. Good golly, Jeffrey. Let's close this. I'm here. All right. So, all right, we've got all this. There we are. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this. Please enter 1, 2, or 3 now. I'm going to keep that where it was. What do I mean? I'm going to grab this. I'm going to remove it. So much for trying to make this better. But I'm going to remove it, put it here. Like that. All right? Okay, that's the first thing I'm doing. Next, I'm setting an upper limit, right? Okay. So before I even do this stuff, I've got my global. I don't need this print prompt anymore. All right. But I'm going to have something I'm going to call upper limit because that's what I'm setting. And right now I'll set it to 0 so it doesn't have any value. All right, so I'm going to put in here a while loop. While true. Now I can put in my input. So user input equals input of prompt. All right, what did that do? That should now bring in all this stuff and stop there and let me put in a number. And once I put in the number, that number is going to go into user input. All right, now what's the problem here? We don't know what the user is going to enter right there. So let's put in a try. And I'm going to say value equals str of user input. All right, and then I'm going to do a match case. So I want to match value to what? Case 1. And in just a minute, case 2. And in just a minute, case 3. If it's a 1, what do we know? Well, the upper limit is 10. And we've got a constant for that, and that is max number easy. If it's a 2, the upper limit is equal to max number medium. If it's a 3, we know that the upper limit is equal to max number hard. All right, so we've done all these. What if it's not a 1 or a 2 or a 3 and I forgot the colon? So what if it isn't one of those? Well, remember, we can come in here and say this, our default case, case underscore. That's a default. Come on. Underscore. Okay. If that's the case, I'm going to raise a value error. What the heck is this? All right. What does the Python raise value error mean? There's raise Python value error. Okay. A value error is raised when a function receives an argument of the correct type but an inappropriate value. We can use a try except to handle a value error. It's raised in a lot of mathematical operations in the math module. We can raise it our own way, however we need it. All right, so this is the try. But what we have to do is we have to handle that value error. So for that except, we got except for value error. All right, we can put whatever we want, but I'm just going to print in here invalid input. Please enter a 1, 2, or 3 only. Screw that up. So please enter a 1, 2, or 3 only. Okay? And then we'll call the function we're in, set upper limit, and we'll pass in our prompt. All right, now in here, this is what I had up here under the determine which game to play. All right, so here I've got what the upper limit is. All right, it's either going to be this, or this, or this, or 0. So it's either going to be 10 if we put in a 1, 100 if we put in a 2, 1,000 if we put in a 3, and it'll remain its initial value of 0. So the only way we want to actually play a game in here is if the upper limit is greater than 0. So if our maximum number is greater than 0, now we should be able to call play the game. Now, right now, play the game isn't doing a flaming thing. We'll get to that in just a bit. But I'm going to do a file, save. I'm going to come down here and do a Control-B to clear this. And I'm going to try to run it and see what it looks like right now, if I got errors or what. All right, so notice, determine maximum number to guess. 1 for a random number between 1 and 10, 2 for a random number between 1 and 100, 3 for a random number between 1 and 1,000. If I put in here, let's try putting in something illegal. Invalid input, please enter a 1, 2, or 3 only, and we're told to do it again. Now, if we put in a 1, nothing's happening because we haven't told it to happen yet. That's okay. All right? Okay, so we're getting there. We're starting to make some progress here. All right, let's clear this out. I don't think it's going to like what I just did there, but that's okay. Let's see. So play the game. We're calling max num. Now for this play the game max num, we could do this. Let's try and see if this works. So I'm going to print in here the maximum number to guess is now if I say max num, I'm going to get an error. All right, or I might get an error. Might get an error when I run it. So let's use the string of that. All right, I just want to see if this is working. And if you say I don't have a clue as to what you're doing, let's see. Let's run it. All right, so if we put in a 1, why is that not taking it? 2, 3, 4, 1. All right, if we're putting this in, so I put in a 1, so let's play computer. right, I'm going to try to play computer right now. What I mean is, all right, max num equals this. If max num greater than 0, call play the game. It does not look like that is being called. So, all right, I believe what the error is I've got here upper limit, but I'm never returning it. So let's return the upper limit. All right, let's try that and see if that changed anything. So save, and we'll try running it again. All right, if we enter a 1, still isn't taking it. 2, 3. Huh. Well, let's see if it's being set. How's that? So we're trying in here, we're returning upper limit, which should be set here, or set here, or set here, or set here. All right, it should be one of those. I don't think I really need number to guess in here. I don't think I'm using that. So I'm going to comment that line out for now. All right, but let's come over here, and rather than this, let's just come in here and do this. All right, I'm going to take these lines, and like I had them before, I'm going to comment them out. All right, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say print, and I'm going to say here the upper limit is all right. I want to see if that's getting hit. All right, because I'll be able to tell whether my upper limit is being set to left at 0 or being set to 10, 100, or 1,000. And if it's not, that means there's an error someplace else in my code. So we'll take a look and see if we can figure out where. All right, so 1. It's skipping right over that. It's going right back to determine maximum number to guess. 2, same thing. 3, same thing. 4, I do get my error message, but regardless, it's coming in here and it is skipping that line. So it's going right down. And I believe I might know why. So let's, come on. There we go. All right, I think the problem is what we've got here is max num equal this. All right, and I'm just calling it over and over and over again. All right. Let's take a look at the working copy and see what the heck I might be doing wrong. That's all the same as what I've got right now. Okay, upper limit while true. There we go. There's the problem. I don't have that. If the upper limit is greater than 0, we have to have our number to guess. Then we return our upper limit. But I still don't think that's going to fix the problem that I have in my program. We'll see. So if the upper limit was greater than 0, give me a random number. All right, now that number to guess, notice it's gray, and it's gray because I took this line and commented it out. Let's uncomment it, and now it should not be gray anymore, and it's not. Okay, return upper limit. All right, now under this play the game, for whatever reason, it appears as though this is not running. So let's put in here a 1. Nope. 2. Nope. 3. Nope. 4. I get my error message. Or do I? Invalid input. So that part's working, but then it's jumping right into here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause. I'm at 46 minutes already. I think I'll break this up into a couple parts. All right, and I'm going to look and see if I can figure out what the heck the problem is, why it's jumping right over this. It's probably something fairly simple. I have a tendency to overlook stuff when it's fairly simple. So I'll come back then with part 2 of this in just a bit.